Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the class event for the Rune Priest, as well as the Rune Priest itself, and some teams for it. It at one point was the best hero class in the game, prior to Divines getting nerfed. These days, it's probably somewhere around 3rd, 4th, or 5th. It is still a very high up there hero class, simply because it is the best healing and survivability hero class. It does not actually have any barriers or anything like that, but as far as the overall durability and heal that it gives to the team, it's very strong in that regard. It's also the best counter to true damage, which is one of the reasons why true damage isn't really around, and if it ever did come back, Priest would easily be able to deal with it with all of the HP gains that it ends up having. But anyways, let's go over two teams real quick. One being what I am personally using, as well as what the cheaper version would be. We're just going with a frontline tank up there just to be able to absorb some of the damage, followed by a bunch of support troops basically into a Dawnbringer. So we're going to keep spamming out the Dawnbringer. That'll give us barrier for everything. We'll occasionally go use our Paladin, which we can easily use to clean up things like Val Ravens, which we'll have to kill, of course, to be able to get more battles. And we pretty much just keep spamming Dawnbringer. We get a little bit extra damage per yellow, which we already have with the Paladin there. And this just acts as a tank, and this just acts as mana generation, and we just keep taking out whatever seems to be the most threatening at the time. I'll get rid of his summon just so we don't have to deal with that. I'll just keep getting our Dawnbringer right back up, and repeat the cycle until we win. This hero class has a lot of gains on things like yellow, because not only does it have its trait, it's the only hero class, I believe if I'm not mistaken, that has a +2. No troop currently has this, but it's a +2. You end up getting a +1 yellow off the perk, but you also get a +1 yellow off of its trait, which means, yeah, you get a +2 instead of just a +1, which they do stack. If you do take a yellow, both of those will give you your +1 together. And if you have a banner set, then that's another +2 to it, so you could potentially get a +4 with simply one troop and your banner choice, which is very, very high in any situation. Not to mention yellow is insanely good with just all Divines. Not only do many Divines create yellow, but most of them end up using them if they don't happen to create it. And some even do both, like Divine Ishbala, both create yellow and uses yellow. But we got a Dawnbringer there, and I'll kill that out. Unfortunately, we cannot use Divine Ishbala in this event. And now let's go into the cheaper team. Cheaper team is, hey, we got a pet. Gotta go do that if we haven't already maxed it. I think I did. But anyways, cheaper team. Obviously, if you don't have Dawnbringer, which you might not, it's a pretty expensive weapon. Next best bet is bring out the Mang. Titan Mang would work best, but just using Mang with Priest class would still also be fine. It's not really the best of skull-related things, but it will get the job done as far as getting this event done if you want to get that little bit of extra EXP towards it while you're doing it. But we're going to go here with a triple Paladin, and that's all we need. We're setting it to a lot of yellow. Every single yellow we take, we're pretty much just getting a Paladin up. I believe we almost have enough yellow gain that even if we don't surge, let's see, we have 2, 5, 7... Yes, we get 10 mana for taking a yellow, even if it doesn't surge. As you see right there, we just got 10 yellow from a single yellow. Because we got 2 from Hero, 1 for each of the Paladin for 3 total, and then 2 from Banner. So that is a whole lot of mana, to say the least. And we're pretty much all up. We'll just go get the last one up, and now we have 3 Paladins to just keep spamming. This at one point actually was the best team in the game, like when the game first started, a little bit after the game first started. I recall this being like absurdly strong. Obviously Hero didn't exist at the time, but triple Paladin always was a pretty good thing as far as combination. But we'll go get that down. He creates a bunch of yellow for us. Oh, I probably should have actually hit this one first. He's going to do a bunch of damage to us. We did not have any barriers or anything, so that was a bit of a mistake there. I'll go hit him now. It's probably too late, though. Yep, it is. So now that our damage is reduced, one really bad thing about Paladin, well, good and bad, is that his damage is based on how much armor he has. So if we end up taking armor damage, we're obviously going to be doing a lot less value out of our hits here. But we'll get that down, go for another little poke, and it doesn't seem like it'll be able to do much from here. And we pretty much just repeat that cycle, and if we needed more damage, we could simply just go do Mang into it, keep gaining barriers off of Brown if we're using Titan, and so on and so forth to just keep killing everything out. So those are the two teams you would mainly use, and you could easily get through all of the battles using those. Anyways, let's go over the hero class itself. Actually, probably would have just been easier to do it on that menu while we're already there. Click that, class, and customize. So, this hero class, we kind of already went over these, but it does have Air Link. This gives it extra yellow whenever it takes yellow, and this does stack with its perk that also gives a +1 yellow, as well as any other troops on your team that has similar trait. It also ends up doing a 2 heal per turn to all allies. Keep in mind, this is not a life gain, this is a heal. The way that heals works is it moves it closer to your max total. So let's say you have 50 HP and you then took 20 damage on your HP. You would then start healing 2 per turn until you got back up to 50. whereas a life gain will increase your total. This only brings you closer towards your total. So if you're already at your max total HP, you will not gain 2 HP per turn. It will just heal towards whatever your current max is. Other than that, it ends up getting a pretty useless weapon. It does have cleanse. Biggest issue with it is it's just not really useful for anything. It only covers one color, as most of the mythic weapons do, other than Dawnbringer, so it just doesn't really get any usage ever. You'd be better off just using a proper cleansing troop like Herdmaster Mercy, or literally anything other than that. It's not worth wasting your hero slot over. And other than that is trees. It has pretty decent trees, not the absolute best out there, but it has slight versatility as far as what you might specifically want to use. First one has either 8 life or a random stat to a ally. Next would be pretty much any of the 3. 10 armor is pretty good. Cleanse to an ally, or cleanse to yourself, I mean, is pretty good. And extra 3 magic if you happen to be using a tome could be decent, though you'd very rarely end up using a tome. This straight right here is insanely strong. I don't even know why it's so early, but it gains 2 life to all allies every single time you extra turn. So that's 8 life total every extra turn you do. And obviously if you're spamming a lot of extra turns, that is a lot of total HP for your entire team. Recover 2 life every turn is pretty useless in comparison to that, and you would never really need the Ancient Golem summon. Other than that, you can go for either Light Storm, the Fairy Fire when a random ally dies, or the 3 extra damage. Really just depends on how you're going to be playing out your team. A Light Storm would be best if you're planning on doing a lot of explosions and stuff like that. The Fairy Fire would be good if you plan on using some kind of troop that kills itself out, as that would put a Fairy Fire on the enemy team every single time you do, or if you're using a mass summon team where you know you're going to be dying a lot. And the 3 magic is just kind of standard, so whatever weapon you're using will have better potency. Next up, you would go for the 1 magic on all allies, which is generally going to be the best, because both of these are just for durability, whereas this will actually speed up the battle. Though there are instances in Divine's teams, as you saw with the Paladins, where having extra armor is technically offensive damage, so there are some occasions where you would run armor of light instead of the Mensar, though more often than not you would just go for the little bit extra magic. The next tree, similar to many of the trees, pretty much all 3 of them are decent. It really just heavily depends on what kind of team you're running with and what you intend to want to focus. Extra yellow is really good since it stacks with the other extra yellow. Extra green is good because it works in great synergy with things like Divine Protector, as well as any weapon that really needs green, or any team that happens to need green. And then, of course, the enchant every single green if you happen to have your hero blocked. Normally you use Priest a little bit further up in your team, but if you have like second slot, sometimes even first slot, but if your hero happens to be blocked, this is a good way to give it mana without while it's still completely blocked behind everything else on your team. And other than that, obviously, since this hero class counts as a Divine from Whitehelm, you're going to want to go and use the extra 2 life to all Divines per turn, as the other 2 are basically going to be useless, and this is actually pretty good. 2 life per turn, that's 8 total, assuming your whole team is Divine, and there are plenty of Divine synergies that do allow you to build a pure team of Divines. One thing to note with all the teams I'm about to be showing, they are more towards mid-range and higher rarity. There's 2 main reasons for this. One is all of the good damage source Divines. There's a lot of support Divines, but all of the good damage source ones that will actually be able to stabilize your team when using a 3 times or 4 times Divine team, they are all legendary or mythic. The other big issue with that is Divine Ishbala, which is a legendary that is highly required to be fully traded, is the best synergy for almost every Divine team. But the problem is she's a legend, so some people might not have her available, and not having her, as well as some of the bigger Divine sources of damage, is going to make it so you can't really run the Priest class. So it is more of a mid to late game kind of hero class, not something you would immediately pick up, as even though it's good, you most likely won't have the troops that allow it to be good. But anyways, we're just going to play this out. We're using a kind of standard Skull Spam team, except we're using it with a pure Divine variant of it. So we're going to get this down, and basically we just throw down Mang if he'll ever let us actually get it. And then we'll ideally have alignment on this and just go crazy if the Goblins ever want to end their turn. Of course, the dreaded Goblin loop that never wants to end. It looks like we're going to be hitting it right now. So let's try and just killing it out. I'm not even going to bother with the thing. We have Enrage right there. We actually got that from the beginning. We have the 1 trait. This is actually why I choose this instead of the 8 extra life. It gives a random ally a random status effect at the start of battle. While 8 life may seem like it would be better than that, there are instances where Serenity will actually, or Serendipity, will end up giving you a positive status effect that is offensive. It could give an enchant to one of your allies, it could give Enrage to your first or second slot, like you saw there we got Enrage on first slot, and things like that are going to be very helpful for speeding up the battle, whereas 8 life, while it will more often not be more effective than a random status effect, it won't actually speed up the rate of the battle. So generally I just go with the random stats effect and just hope it randomly does something good like it did for this particular battle. And we haven't been able to get the loop yet. Basically the premise of this team, as I've done it many times before actually, normally show it, but it's just so good that you kind of have to. But it's a really good loop with the purple convert. You convert all the purples to skulls and then all the brown to green, and that then gives you all the capability of creating all of the green into yellow, and then you basically just loop the two together. Unfortunately though, the board doesn't like to cooperate and it doesn't work out, but it happens. You get the battles like that. Luckily we're using an HP gain, so worst comes to worst, we can keep spamming that to keep our HP going. So we're going to do that right now just to keep our durability up. Ideally it'll give us alignment as well, and it appears to have done so. We always want to cast the Forest Guardian first if we can, as this just sets up the board better. And now we finally have the loop going. There we go, it took long enough. But you just keep looping it back and forth, and you essentially just win from sheer amount of skull damage. And ideally you would have the Mang up front doing a lot more damage than that, but still works even once your hero ends up dying out. But on to the other ones. So, next one. Divine Protector team. Divine Protector is insanely good with Divines, mainly because it boost ratios like crazy for every single Divine you have. You end up creating a lot more yellows and reds to the board, so really nice to have. If you happen to not have Divine Protector, there are a couple of different ways that you can go about replacing it, though the easiest way would just be to use Jar of Eyes in first slot. Alternatively, you can also go put a Mercy in first slot instead, and then if you still want to use the hero, you can use something like Mountain Crusher in one of your other locations. So it really just depends how you want to go about it, but Divine Protector, if you happen to have it, really good weapon. Main thing that this will be used for is keeping yourself alive, actually, because it gives you a barrier and a cleanse every single time it casts. While it's mainly used for its mana generation, it serves that double role of basically making sure your hero never dies. Like you saw in that first battle, because we had skull spam and everything, we did end up dying out, but this will be a lot better at surviving compared to the previous one. We are entangled right now, but luckily we do have cleanse. That's a nice thing about using a Divinia on your team, on any Divine team, is you have a really big HP gain. A lot of support underneath Divines, obviously. Almost the entirety of Divines, like 80% of them, are support troops. But yeah, this ends up giving a lot of HP, ends up giving cleanse, ends up clearing out a lot of the board. This thing needs HP as well, catches the bull when the Mythics has a lot of damage, and it gains even more from having a higher HP. So it ends up working out quite nicely. So right here, I'm going to go and start getting down Ubistet, just because I don't want to have to deal with Ubistet here. I'm going to adjacent damage him, and he does hit us, but we have so much HP that it doesn't even matter. We're going to go for a really big hit right there. The adjacent damage should kill him, and it does. And now we just get another Divinia, cleanse off all those random stats effects that he keeps creating. We basically have the opposite. Divinia is essentially the opposite of a Magnus, and oddly enough, it's really good at defeating Magnus. It's because you get way more cleanse and he can never do damage due to the fact that he has no board control, whereas we get to clear out the entire board while accumulating a bunch of mana. So I'll just go kill that out. Get a nice Tetris again. Unfortunately, they're not right next to each other. He'll hit a little bit, but it's pretty much trivial. And now we just have to hit him again, and that will be a match. Generally with Tetris, the way that you go about it is hit second slot, then hit fourth slot. But the way we did that battle went a little bit differently than normal. But it's going to be fine. Just need to go get a skull spam down. Just going to do that for his little bit of mana, and it does look like we had skulls over there. And it just dies out. While Divine isn't necessarily the best of things to use with skulls, due to Divine Ishbala, there are a lot of teams that you do tend to run skull spam with unintentionally on a Divine team. Not because you're trying to use this as a skull spammer, but simply because it's a decent enough tank that with Divine Ishbala, it kind of just happens automatically. So here we have a little bit of an annoying team with a relatively standard Divine team. This has become a little bit weaker as of recently, though. As of the most recent patch, they did nerf all Divines, which is one of the reasons why I wouldn't say this hero class is exceptionally high up there. It has two really big limitations. One is many of the good Divines, like Infernus, Ubistet, and Divine Ishbala in particular, did end up getting nerfed, so it's a lot less viable. And the other problem it has is all of the teams you've maybe noticing, like towards here, we ended up using a Mythic the last time, now we're using two Mythics. All of the really good high damage output Divines are all really high rarity, mainly Mythics, so there are some legendary ones, like with the Forest Guardian you saw there, which is both protective and offensive. But we'll go and get our Ubistet down. That'll easily double kill. It no longer has that glitch where it allows it to double kill, unfortunately, so we didn't get the kill on the other guy right there, where it used to in the past, but it doesn't anymore. But still going to be a pretty easy win. While the team has been nerfed heavily, it's still one of the pretty high up there as far as overall strength. But we'll go, and he has stealthy, so we can't actually target that. We'll go for that. He gets another bandit. Should probably kill that hero. It's using, what, Archer? No, Assassin. I hate that class, or I hate that perk so much. There's a 50% chance per time an ally dies that it ends up summoning a bandit. And it even counts itself as well when it ends up dying. it just keeps getting bandit after bandit after bandit over and over again. Luckily, he got 0 right there. Easiest way to deal with that is to stun it, but you're more often not going to bother bringing a stun just for that purpose. But anyways, that is 4 Divine teams, pure Divine teams that all end up using the Rune Priest. Definitely a really nice hero class to have, though I wouldn't go too heavy on it as you need to have really big troops to be able to use it. Divine Ishbala is the most noteworthy. As far as mythics to look out for to be able to utilize with it, those would mainly be things like Infernus, Ketris the Bull, and that's pretty much it. There's a few other Divines, so those are the 2 highest overall damage outputs that you're really going to get. That and Ubistet, but you generally need another follow-up troop with Ubistet. You're either going to need a Divine Protector or just something in order to chip them down so that you can get that double kill off the Ubistet itself. But anyways, guys, if you have any other questions or anything else you want me to go over, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone!